Hello, Devin, here with a special guest for my interview. He's from Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, where I'm from. He's got a crazy story. Sports was a huge thing in his life and still is. And I'm going in to be a sports broadcaster. So I would like to welcome RJ Shelton.
Good, everybody. It's good. My good brother, Devin. Appreciate you having me on.
Of
And
course.
we're going to have some fun with this interview.
Yes, appreciate you allowing me to interview you. If you want, you can tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, obviously, Devin just said RJ Shelton from Beaver Dam, Wisconsin. As he said earlier, sports has definitely consumed basically my whole entire life. Went to Beaver Dam High School here from '08 to 12 or maybe a year before, whatever. Went back a couple times, back a couple years to go ahead and try to figure out how long it's been, but was there in Beaver Dam from '09 to 12. An opportunity to go to Michigan State to go ahead and play Division I football. Was there from 13 to 16. Had a stint a little bit professionally. Was with the Vikings. Then was with the Ottawa Red Blacks. And then in 2020, that's where I went ahead and retired. So but had a lot of great time during that time.
Of course. Once again, thank you for allowing me to do this with you. Um,
Absolutely.
so kind of want to circle back. You were the class of 2013, correct?
Yeah, 2013.
All
Yes, I
right.
was.
And then you signed with Michigan State with other D1 schools offers. But you signed February 26th of 2012 with Michigan State. We kind of talked about it before. And you just want to kind of go over again why Michigan State?
Yeah, no, definitely. Throughout the whole recruiting process, kind of my morals of what I kind of base my day to day living on is, people that treat you with respect, people that go ahead and keep it real with you from the jump, and just it's vice versa, and it's consistent because you continuously go back to campus, you go to recruiting trips, you continue to see the same people. For me, I just felt right at home. I kind of had a gut feeling that this was the place I wanted to be at. It felt like a family. I'm very family oriented. So if you treat me with respect, obviously I'm treating you with respect. But also, as I mentioned earlier, keeping that level of, okay, like, it's not going to be easy, but you're going to go ahead and reap the benefits when you go ahead and put the work in. So that was one of the main reasons kind of why I went there. Mark D'Antonio and his staff, really just showed me, what is going to be for the next 4 years here. And, I remember like yesterday when I went ahead and committed, basically not like officially, but basically saying that, hey, I'm going to be going here. That was definitely the best decision I made and had a very great career. So it was fun.
Yeah, of course. I somewhat remember kind of like it was kind of a big thing here in Beaver Dam too, finding out where you're gonna go. Um, but yeah, you held a lot of high school records for a lot of sports. Um, Mainly football. But I know you also played basketball. If I
Yeah, yeah,
look
yeah.
far enough, I can find a video of you making a game winner,
Oh
like a
yeah,
half
half
court or
court shot
something.
against Watertown. It was positively hoops night. It was the kids night or whatever. It was a good time.
I was never there, but I keep every once in a while I see it on my YouTube algorithm. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, you played in high school and college. You played with amazing players. One
Mm-hmm.
of your high school teammates, Bryce Johnson, also went to the NFL for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, and what were some of the people like in college that kind of helped you become like the person you are now? Like any teammates
Yeah.
or anything?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'll probably say the whole wide receiver. So I went. Let me backtrack here. So I went in as running back to Michigan State. Then I went ahead and got changed positions about 4 days into camp. So realistically, all the guys that were in the running back room, I wasn't there when Le'Veon Bell was there, but I was there when Jeremy Langford was there. He was another great guy. Del Williams, Gerald Holmes, Nick Hill. So those are the guys that I was in the room with majority like my freshman year, and then I transferred over to the wide receiver room. All those guys that I had mentioned, very good individuals, come from different backgrounds. Again, all these people come from different backgrounds, right? You got guys that come from inner cities. You got guys that come from suburbs. You got guys that come from the country. Those guys in that running back room, and especially in this wide receiver room that I'm going to go ahead and mention as well, kind of really mold me into the man I am today. Go over to the wide receiver room. You got Tony Lippett that played in the league for 7 years. You got Benny Fowler who played in the league, I think, for same amount of time. Aaron Burbidge who played in the league as well. He's with the 49ers. Two of those guys that I mentioned, Tony Lippett and Aaron Burbidge, both won Big Ten Wide Receiver of the Year. With their time being, who else is there? AJ Trube, a guy that really didn't play that much, but he was another solid individual. McGarry Kings, all those guys that I've now created a brotherhood to where
Mhm.
it's like, okay, we've helped each other through so much to where, there's more off the field, but when we go ahead and play, I'm with you. We're going to go ahead and do this thing. So those position rooms, and obviously the coaches there, Dave Warner was the running back coach at that time. And Terrence Samuel, who's the wide receiver coach, had a lot of great wide receivers. He's now Coach Sam, is now in Kansas. I don't know where Dave Warner is, but I know he's still coaching. So those guys obviously helped me a
Mhm.
lot. And then the final man is obviously Mark D'Antonio being the head coach. Just with anything that's going on, just continuing to go ahead and put one foot in front of the other, because at the end of the day, that's all you can do. You can't go ahead
Yeah,
and dwell on a bad day, or even if you had a good day. It's good to have good days. Obviously, you want to have them, but it's life. Things happen. You got to
of
go ahead
course.
and do what needs to be done. So I probably say, even though it was a winded question or a winded answer to your question, those guys definitely helped me for right now and obviously moving forward.
Of course. Kind of want to going back, kind of backtracking more towards like the recruitment process. What was like,
Mm-hmm.
what was that like, especially with Michigan? Like, what did they all do to accommodate and?
Yeah. So, I mean, back then, it's not like it is right now. Right now, it's probably a little bit more different, but I would probably say not as different, because there probably were some people that were getting paid to come to where they needed to go school wise, but that's a whole different topic.
Mhm.
Um, but for me, I mean, once Michigan State offered the first time, then that's where everything started kind of to roll in, from recruiting, from schools that are trying to go ahead and bring me on board. Back then, basically, or I can see now is, also, one school will go ahead and offer, and then you would just go ahead and get a whole bunch of other teams to go ahead and,
Mhm.
possibly, bring you on as well, or tell you, hey, we want you to come here. But for me, I mean, I remember getting that offer, and then literally, like, probably, I would say, from then on, like, my phone was, or emails or whatever it was, how they recruit me, like, it was nonstop. It
Mhm.
was basically, I don't recall, but all major schools were just basically, sending offers. But it
Yeah.
really took one to go ahead and get that started, and it's kind of crazy that I ended where where the first one started,
Mhm.
basically my career. So it was just a lot of just communication with coaches, talking with
Yeah.
them. As I mentioned earlier, it wasn't nothing crazy. Like, they would just, send a whole bunch of letters to my house. All these schools would, saying, hey, hopefully you're doing well. Consider, blase school. But probably at that time it was just a lot of mail that I was that I was getting from universities, which is
Yeah.
cool, because, like, when you work and do things like that, that's what you want. Like, it's
Of
a
course.
sense of rewardment when you go ahead and see schools that actually want you to come to the university and play,
Yeah.
obviously, collegiate sports. So that was
Of
kind of
course.
my stint of that.
Yeah, because I mean, some of the college offers, I'm sure there was a lot more, but some of the ones that I could find was obviously Michigan State, where you ended up playing college football at, but also Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Um, was it like when you were growing up? I'm assuming from Wisconsin, huge Badgers fan. Was it
Hmm.
always a part of you that was like, oh, I want to play for the Badgers?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I
Hmm.
mean, when I was younger, like, that's all I watched. Being from
Yeah.
Wisconsin, and if you are a true Wisconsin person, you know that literally are watching Packers, Badgers, basically all Badger sports,
Yep.
Brewers. I mean, the only knock is Marquette basketball and Badger basketball, but majority of people are Wisconsin people. I'm
Oh yeah.
Marquette, but that's a
Oh
different
yeah.
story to talk about. But yeah, no, like through and through, the biggest thing was to go ahead and, for me, just to play college football. Like I already had that mindset at a very young age. And in the beginning, yeah, it was Badgers through and through. My dad
Hmm.
played there. My mom played there. Mom played basketball. Dad played football. So it's like, yeah, at a young age, that'd be the ultimate dream to do it. And then once you get older and once you start to see just, how the system works in regards to, what universities want to do with in-state, because this has been going on
Hmm.
for a long time. Uh, Kind of fast forward, they wanted me to go ahead and walk on. I'm like, I'm not going to walk on in the
Yeah.
beginning. And then obviously Michigan State offered, and then they offered. But at the same time, it was when I was younger, like, yeah, let's do it as a, to go ahead and be a Badger. But, things change and you got to do
Of
what's best for
course.
you. So
Yeah.
probably went ahead and had a lot of people that we knew or I know around here, but at the same time, just throughout Wisconsin, that they were sick about it. But, it is what it is. they can,
Exactly.
they can live to see another day. So
Of course. Do you have like any memories from like high school, like a high school game that was huge that you will never forget,
I would probably say
or even
I'll
like a
probably go
game?
ahead. Yeah, no, I mean there were so many games, and shout out to all the previous guys that I played with in high school. I mean those guys are still I got friends to this day. When I see them, it's like we picked up back in high school. So shout out to all of them. But I would probably have to say the game that was probably one of my favorites um, will probably have to be. It's really hard to pick
Hmm.
because there's a lot of games. But if I were to go ahead and say one particular would definitely probably be, I would say, my junior year, and we had homecoming against Watertown. So I rushed for like a whole bunch of yards, basically went ahead and just did my thing. Everyone was on point from O line. And that was like a really good football team that we played in Watertown. That whole conference was good. That year
Yeah.
we should have did a little bit better than we expected, but I would probably go out and say that one is probably one of my favorites. If I wanted to be very particular on one, but
Hmm.
there's a lot of games from
Yeah.
like sophomore year, freshman year, junior year, obviously, and senior year that are all
Okay.
ones that I love to play. But if you love to play the game, like all those games are fun because
Of
at the end of
course.
the day,
Yes.
you're doing something you love to do and doing it with guys you know. So, but all in all,
Hmm.
that was probably the best one. Was probably Watertown.
Okay. Growing up, kind of like, what players did you like try to like, or try to like emulate your game off of, like? Because I know for me in seventh grade, I played. That was the only year I played tackle football. Because I'm not the tallest, I'm not the
Right.
biggest. I'm skin and bones, but I my favorite player and still all time favorite Packer player is Donald Driver. So I would try to
That's a
emulate
great
my
one.
game off of Donald Driver. I purposely got
Yeah.
grabbed number 80 for my jersey because of him. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's awesome. Um, I mean, 100%, there was no way I was not watching both these guys, but the main one, Percy Harvin's probably my favorite player of all time. Uh, I actually had number 8 in high school.
Mhm.
Excuse me, that was like my number that I was gonna pick, and then I switched to 5 because of Reggie Bush. So Percy Harvin and Reggie Bush are probably my favorite football players at that time. Like at
Mhm.
my position, that I would try to model my game after as much as I possibly could. Um, Yeah, no, those two were definitely people that I would watch highlights or whatever and just try to pick little pieces from them. Uh,
Okay.
During my career, at Beaver Dam and at Michigan State until I got changed to wide receiver, so I had to go ahead and go in a little bit of a different bag there. But
Yeah.
those two were definitely probably
o-
my all-time favorites, and still to this day are.
Okay. So those guys are a little bit kind of like you emulated your game off of. You learned
Yep.
stuff from them. Okay. Um, High school year. Asked this before in our previous one that didn't work out. High school you. You're. It's say it's before a rivalry game. You're playing music
Uh-huh.
before the game. What are you playing?
Anything Lil Wayne, especially during
Anything?
that time.
Okay.
Anything Lil Wayne, particularly, um, I don't know if you've heard of it. It might be out of your time, but it was off the, I forget, it might have been off like Dedication, but it was when he was doing a whole bunch of remix to songs that were already out.
Mm-hmm.
And Watch My Shoes was definitely one that I vividly remember. But that whole like tape, I just was just go ahead and just play.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
before they made like obviously the whole new facilities and everything, I think it might still be there, but it's closed up. But like where you would go ahead and go down to like the old like wrestling rooms used to be, they used to have like a little
Oh, the little
um
hallway.
yeah, a little hallway that went down, but like there, I
Oh.
forget what it was called, the room, but yeah, I had Beats headphones on with the batteries,
Mm-hmm.
and we just got locked in.
All right. All right. Yeah.
But
Sadly,
that's the
they don't
song.
have that anymore.
I know.
Have you been there since they remodeled yet? Or yeah,
Yeah,
you
I've
had
been
to have
there.
been.
Yeah, I was there for the Hall of Fame. Shout out to everybody in that class. But yeah, no, that was definitely anything Little Wayne at that point. That was definitely on.
All
That
right.
was
All right.
definitely on.
Definitely on the rotation.
Absolutely, had to be,
Okay.
especially during that time.
Oh yeah. Um. So kind of when going to college. No, you. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to read my notes.
No, you're good. Take your time.
So like in total for your college, this could be wrong. Like I said, like I found basically all this stuff on ESPN. So obviously you would know better than they would. But it seems as for college you played a total of what 52 games,
Sounds about right.
so somewhere around there, and you had a total of 549 yards. So going back to like kind of like a rivalry game. What was it like? Because I know Michigan State and Michigan just played. What was that kind of
Hmm.
game going on? How was that to be on the field and being a player for those games?
I just want to go ahead and say that I was 3-1 against them during my time. So let's just get that out the way. Yesterday or this past weekend did hurt, but I mean those games are what you go to universities for. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you, it's just like how to put it in perspective of like Packers versus the Bears. Like we don't like the Bears at
Oh yeah,
all, but it's just a little bit more different than that because it's in college, and college rivalries are a little bit more serious than they are really
of course.
professionally. Because at the same time, like it's just like both these universities don't like each other. Both
Yeah.
these universities go ahead and probably have family that either went to Michigan or Michigan State, or husband and wife. One might have went to Michigan, the other one might went to Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
It runs very deep. Michigan people don't want to say, like it does. Like they don't want to lose to us. It's
Yeah.
just a very heated rivalry. So being able to go ahead and play in certain games like that, uh,
Mm.
number one, means a lot because it's not just for you; it's for the people that are actually from Michigan. So the
Yeah.
people that have to go ahead and live in Michigan for say their lives or go somewhere else, or it was a very personal game
Mm-hmm.
during that time, and whenever we played that game, you know when I played, obviously we took that very serious. We took every game serious, but it was a little bit more different, uh,
Okay.
just because of just
Just the
statements within
yeah.
to say that it's in the right place. Paul Bunyan's a very big deal, and maybe if you go ahead and have time, you'll be able to see kind of how deep the rivalry is because it's probably one of the top, I would say top 10, if not top 5 within the country for college football. Or
Okay.
really college sports, to be honest. That's just my
Okay.
preference.
Yep.
Just me being in that situation. Like I know they got the Ohio State versus Michigan. I know all that, but
Oh yeah.
that one between Michigan State's up there. So
Definitely. I would have to agree. Have to agree. I would say though the top one is probably Michigan, Ohio State.
100%.
But I would give Michigan and Michigan State. I would put them top 5 for me.
Yeah, I will put it Yeah, I mean, it's just you got to. There's so many other ones like Oklahoma versus Texas. You know, that's a big one. But
Yeah.
I would definitely rank or put this rivalry for sure at least top 10 because there's so many other ones out there. So,
Hmm.
but all in all, in that question, it was fun. You know, you're
Yeah.
playing the best of the best. Primetime games, basically every time you guys play each other. And there were some pretty good games that I've attended during that time, especially against
Of
Michigan. So
of course, and you get to be one of the lucky ones to say you're 3-1 against them too.
I know should have been 4-0, but you know things happen.
Of course. What year was it that you guys lost? Was it your freshman
Yeah, it was
or?
my senior year. We lost to them. I forget what the
Ooh,
score was, but we lost to them in East Lansing, which was tough. It was a tough year that year,
yeah.
but you know it is what it is.
Hmm. Awesome, awesome. And then you said when I asked you this at this time for if you were on the aux before, you said Travis Scott.
Oh yeah, Travis Scott, Future, Lil Wayne. Even though it was like 7 years ago, or like 3 or 4 years ago, being in high school, still in rotation.
Of course.
Um, but then really like towards like the like later in my career, like I really didn't listen to music. I just went out and just did my thing. Because
Okay.
at some point, like you outgrow a point where you got to get hyped for a game. Because at the end of the day, like you just love doing what you're doing.
Yep.
So it's like I would play it like maybe in the morning, and then I just like to go ahead and just hear and look. Obviously, just the excitement of the game. You know, seeing
Yeah.
people come in and things like that. But during that time, just chilling. If there was, those would
Hmm.
be the people
Okay.
on the aux or in the headphones that I got in right now.
Be all right, all right. Kind of like going back to like the rivalries. Obviously, we were talking about some of the big ones. Was it? I'm not a huge college football fan or college sports
Hmm.
fan.
Yeah.
Um, but was it as heated as they are now? Like where, what? It was Devin Bush
Yeah.
going to Michigan State's middle of their field, or what field was it? Where
Yeah,
he,
it was it. Yeah, where he had like cleated up the middle of the Spartan head, things like that. I
yeah,
mean, it is heated. Like it's just me speaking on this rivalry. Like it is heated, even though both sides wouldn't. I'm saying back then, yes, but now, I mean, I don't really know.
hmm,
Uh, but I think it still is a big staple in both programs
hmm,
because at the end of the day, you know, from you see history, both teams at this game or in this point of the season, they play each other. Whoever wins this game has a great season or goes to a
yeah,
bowl game or does very
hmm,
well. And if you look at it, it's all the way back to when I played to where
yeah,
that's how serious of a game this is.
okay,
Because it just not only goes ahead and shows you where you are measuring stick wise as a player or as a coaching staff, that shows you across the country, like, okay, this is a team that's you know, the best in Michigan. So,
yeah,
um, but to answer the question that you said, I would say realistically, I would hope so that it is for Michigan State in this rivalry, but due to
hmm,
just everything going on, NIL, guys getting paid, like it could just be another game. It could just
yeah,
be another game where you just play. No, and that's cool. Like I guess it's
yeah,
just we're losing out on rivalries to where they actually mean something.
hmm,
But it's all just on coaching and how serious they take this game or take any rivalry game. I'm assuming for Michigan State that they do.
hmm,
Um, for the team down the road, when I mean that, I mean Michigan. I really could care less what
yeah.
they
How they
do.
feel?
But at the same time, like they definitely have this on their schedule that they have to beat us, even if they don't
Okay.
want to say it. So it's just so many things. Like even though that I'm having this mentality, there's the same mentality that I was at state. But if you talk to anyone that has put on a green and white uniform, and I'm not even talking about football, or a fan that has been a fan for over 20 plus years,
Hmm.
or someone that is about Michigan State, you can ask them, what do you think about Michigan, and they'll go ahead and probably either tell you next question or give you a long speech like I have about it. But
Oh yeah,
I hope the rivalries are somewhat important for schools just in general,
yeah.
but you never know.
I mean, I would say one rivalry that I still would think is pretty big, um, is the battle for Paul Bunyan's axe,
Mm-hmm.
um, Wisconsin and Minnesota.
Yep.
I would say that's still a pretty big one. I mean,
Absolutely. I think
you got
that's
over
definitely a staple. Mm-hmm.
you got over on Michigan or Minnesota. Only player that comes to mind is Christian Driver, Donald Driver's son,
Yeah.
that transferred over there this year from Penn State. It was
Yeah.
kind of, I would say, it was a little bit. I thought he was going to come to Wisconsin at first
Yeah.
because he posted that Wisconsin offered him a scholarship during that whole training, and then I thought he was going to transfer. But given that he was born and basically raised in Wisconsin for most of his
Yeah.
life. But I mean, I guess we got something to be excited about in Wisconsin for next year. I mean, got T.Y. Hilton's son coming next
Yeah.
year to play. That was
That's a
pretty
huge
big.
addition.
Yeah.
It's a huge
Um,
addition.
who are some of the players in college that you played against that, like, people would know or have helped you learn more?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, realistically, player wise, that I've watched that was probably insane. Braxton Miller, when he was at Ohio State, we went
Mhm.
to the Big Ten Championship 2013. I got to see him up close and personal. But watching him before I even got into college, I'm like, man, this man is the real deal.
Mhm.
That was one guy that I was like, wow, he is a ball player. Think of who else? Because the Big Ten that year, there's so many players that were in the league like now or even like 2 years ago that were absolute phenomenal athletes. I can list a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, for the players that I mentioned earlier, like in the group, in the wide receiver group, they helped me out a lot. That was the
Mhm.
main help. I mean, we would take bits and pieces, but I mean, at that point, we're watching the NFL guys because we want to get to the NFL.
Yeah.
So I was watching a lot of Devontae Adams, a
Okay.
lot, like younger career. That was probably
Mhm.
when I made the transition, I was watching him probably every day after getting done watching film. So uh, it was more of that than watching other guys because at the
Okay.
same time, like we're trying to get to the league. So it's like we're watching guys that are in the NFL
Yeah.
then rather than watching guys. I mean, watching film, like, yeah, okay, he's a good player, but it's just like there was one that specifically stands out to me, and that was Braxton Miller. Like
Okay.
that man was everything that you would think. I don't know if you've watched him or heard of that name, but
I've heard of it.
that man at Ohio State was probably one of the best quarterbacks. He's at least, this is my opinion, and I think a lot of people can go ahead and stand firm on it as well. He's probably the best quarterback to ever come out of the Big Ten. That's saying a lot because Drew
Yeah.
Brees was there, a lot of old guys were there,
Yeah.
like that, made a name for themselves. But he's definitely top five throughout
Okay.
this whole entire time because the things that he did for Ohio State at a very early age.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of them ones.
Okay.
If you want
Okay.
to, like, he's definitely a top quarterback in the Big Ten, and he's top five for sure. There's really like no going around it for
And he's
what
not
he
five, is
did.
he?
And he's 5'2". So he's he was probably the most electric I've ever seen with my own eyes, just watching a
Okay.
football game.
Okay. Kind of want to get your competitive edge on this. Now, say you're in the league now. Who's your dream matchup? Who you're out for a play. Who do you want to be guarding you that you'd be like, okay,
I would go ahead and say I would say Jalen Ramsey. The only
okay,
reason why I say that is because, in my opinion, Jalen Ramsey is probably one of the best corners till to this day. He can play any position,
mm-hmm.
and you got to understand that he's a corner, but he also
Yeah,
plays in the box some plays.
yes,
But I mean, he's gifted, probably one of the most athletic, situations you ever can be in. A guy 6'2", 6'3",
mm-hmm.
run as fast as whoever, stays with whoever, physical corner. It'd be a great matchup. It'd be good for me because I can see where I'm at, put
Of
a test to
course,
what I'm doing. So if I had to do it all over again, or be one-on-one, I would definitely go ahead and go against Jalen Ramsey.
Okay. How many times would he beat you, or how many times, say, out of 10 times, how many times do you think you'd be able to beat him?
Back then, none.
None? Okay.
Can't go out. You can't go out and say that you're gonna lose, because if you already lose, then you're already done for.
Fair.
But I'm
Fair.
saying it'd be a good matchup though.
Okay.
But again, I like myself, and I've had enough self confidence for a long time. So
All right. All right. Yeah.
we would have to see. We may never know, but
Yeah.
I think I'll do okay.
I think you would too. Um.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Of course. Like, what was going through like the time going through your head, and what was your mindset going into the draft, and then after the draft when
Yeah.
you ended up not being drafted? Like, kind of, what was your mindset through all that?
Yeah, it was a tough time. Seeing guys go before you that you felt that you were better than. That was definitely a kind of an eye-opening and more hungry experience than I've ever had in the sport. Last day, basically, I forget what it was, but didn't get drafted. Went ahead and had to go ahead and get calls to figure out what I was going to do. Had an agent situation. I really didn't go as planned. Kind of sold me for short and already having a plan. So there's a lot of things going on in my mind. I'm like, man, this really can't be the way it is. But at the same time, you're in a very good small percentage of things that guys really couldn't do after they got done with college. So I was able to sign with the Vikings. Went there as a free agent. Really good camp, really good everything. And then obviously up to the point when I was with played against the Dolphins. Like 3 minutes left when I hadn't broke my foot. Then I had to go ahead and do rehab and things like that, which was tough. Um, and then literally, once that happened, went into injury settlement situation, and then that was that for that time. So, eye-opening experience. Got to meet a lot of good people. But came short at that time, but was still going during that time as
Mhm.
well.
Okay. Yeah. Um. So we talked a little bit about your like high school, college, and then your like little NFL stint. But I would also kind of like to talk about your Canadian Football League stint.
Yeah, yeah. So kind of just picking up where I kind of left off. So broke foot there. So from 17 all the way to 18 was rehabbing, getting back right. And then 2018 to 2019, that's where you had mentioned Canadian Football League. I was with the Ottawa Red Blacks. I was with them for about 6 months, then got released. Then came back in 2020. Um, and unfortunately went ahead and tore my Achilles. So, a part of this game of what you do, or really in a part of life of whatever goes on, there's always bumps in the road. But it's how you go ahead and make sure that you can go ahead and finagle those to go and continue to put one foot in front of the other. Um, it was a fun time. It was a little different league, but it was nice to be in Canada for a little bit. It was nice to go ahead and have those experiences because I got, exposed to so many different things. Got to
Mm-hmm.
be able to meet a lot of sweet people during that time. Um, but it was fun. I was still doing what I was able to do since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, time doesn't stop for anybody. The human body can only stay up so long, especially, in the professional athletics. Uh, so I literally hanged them up 2020, and I don't think I would change anything. So it was fun.
I mean, hey, you've got a podcast that's going on and it's pretty successful, I would say.
Absolutely.
And was it when you went to the Canadian Football League, was it kind of like in your head at that point, like, I'm gonna do this, try to see if I can get back to the NFL? Or is it just like,
Yeah.
it's just another opportunity to play the sport that I love?
Yeah, no, that was the main goal. Like the main goal was to go ahead and, be there and try to get back in the league, at that time. Um, but at the same time, it's I really couldn't control that. I just had to go ahead and take it
Mm-hmm.
one step at a time. And I went ahead and did what I could do at that point. Obviously injuries are a part of it. And it is what it is. But yeah, that was the goal. I mean, I was trying to get back, but was fine if they, it didn't work out and was able to go ahead and stay there and play. There's a
Yeah.
lot of guys right now that I know they're going on their 10th year in this in the
Mhm.
Canadian Football League, which is incredible. You're able to go ahead and still do what you love to do, and It just came up a little bit short for me, but like as you said, I got things going on, got the podcast going on, so staying around sports as a whole,
Yeah.
and forever grateful.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess this is a kind of a loaded question, but like, how important has sports been to your life?
Yeah, that's you talk about team, you talk about being held accountable, talk about self-sacrifice. You can't do anything that someone that isn't in sports, can do. I had to make a lot of right choices, throughout my entire career, but at the same
Mm.
time, making the right choices puts you in the right situations. So sports is a really big thing and impacts my life tremendously. Just how I carry myself as a person,
Yeah.
how I go, into things and handling situations. A prime example. Okay, cool. We lost the game. Okay, how are we going to go ahead and respond? Like, am I going to go ahead and blame other people? Or am I going to go ahead and figure out how I can be better next game? So,
Okay.
and it's the same thing with in life. Things happen. I can't
Yeah.
go ahead and sit here and blame people that things aren't going well. At the same
Hmm.
time, I just got to continue to go ahead and put my head down and put the work in to make sure that I know that I'm doing what I need to do, and just let the puzzle and let the pieces, excuse me, fit where they need to fit.
Yeah.
And sports had a very big impact, especially on me, but also just life in general. You learn a lot with being with teams, with uh, doing your research in regards if you look up, what's going on, like why is this individual, say for instance, why is he going through this and things like that. You come to find out that, it comes in the whole story to where it can help you. Like there's so many things that sports does to help people in general that aren't athletes or are athletes,
Yeah.
uh, to where it just benefits your life, especially.
Okay. I kind of just came up with this question, like, just on the spot, listening to that. So now NFL players will do like, it was still big then, and I think it'll always be big. Would do like different sports, like to help them out on the field and stuff. Like you
Yep.
got Tua, who I believe he just recently picked up jiu-jitsu or something like that to learn how to fall. Was there anything like that for you that you did,
Yeah, for
or was there really
me,
not much time?
I mean, there was time. I mean, like for me, because I was a wide receiver, like pickup game basketball, even though people probably organizations don't want to hear it, but I mean it's true. Like just being able to go ahead and move side to side, being more creative because basketball you got to be creative. Obviously, you got a ball in your hand, hand-eye coordination, things like
Yeah.
that. Being able to move, um, that was probably the main one. People do a lot of yoga. That's common, just to go ahead and longevity through the body. Being able to
Hmm.
go ahead and move certain ways. Um, for me, those were probably the main two. Uh, Later in my career, but earlier in my career, a lot of swimming, a lot of just like being in the water, just to go ahead
Okay.
and build endurance throughout muscles, for a long period of time. So those are probably the three things. But I was never crazy like jujitsu or anything. But whatever helps you, to go ahead and
Mm.
make you a better player and to peak at a
Yeah.
higher performance or to get better each year. Those are things that guys do. And I think it's good because that
Yeah.
means that you're serious about focusing on your craft.
Yeah. I was just wondering because personally, I've done 10+ years of mixed martial arts, so it's kind of cool to learn other people's like ways that they helped, and it's really cool to find out like, oh, some NFL players actually also dabble in this to help them fall or help them
Right.
protect themselves from a concussion or something.
Right.
So I was just wondering if that was something like you ever really did or even looked into,
Yeah.
but
So, I mean, I say I wrestled at an early age, but I really never looked into martial arts. Should have,
okay,
though. Might have helped me with
it
something, but
yeah, it takes a toll though too.
I bet it does.
I've gotten bad knees from it already.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I was just wondering about that because that just popped into my head. Like I know people do this and stuff.
Right.
Um, I want to go back to like kind of like traditions, not even that, like stuff that you do ritually every game day. Like if you don't do it, you're not gonna have a good game. can't think of the word off the top of my head.
Like pregame rituals or like things that I'd like superstition that I had to do
Yes.
before,
Yeah,
kinda.
like did you have any of those, or what was the weirdest ones that you've seen that you were around and other people did?
I would say, what ritual did I have? I would say probably just warm up, just like be consistent with warm ups, just to go ahead and make sure that I'm good when I'm
Okay.
out there playing. I mean, other ones that I've seen other people do. I mean, I really wasn't worried about like I was just trying to get myself prepped and ready to go before
Yeah.
anything. So, I mean, big thing was just to go ahead and make sure um, that I just got a proper warm up in. Like, I wasn't really like superstition in
Okay.
like, okay, I got to do this or I got to have
Okay.
this. Um, but I mean, a big thing was just to make sure mentally that I was ready to go and locked
Okay.
in for a game. Obviously, every time that we played. So, I guess that
Okay.
would probably be my superstition.
All right, because I know we've got players that are like that now in the league that still wear their college pads, or they have certain things that they do not allow
I do
themselves
take
to
that
do.
back. I take that back. My time at Michigan State, I had a Beaver Dam football T-shirt underneath my pads. I wore.
Okay. I mean, I think that's
Had
also
that
kind
for
of like a
sure. Oh yeah, I had to have that on every time, and I did throughout my time at Michigan
Mhm.
State. And then I had a friend of mine had passed, and then I switched that to Warrior. We had like these Mylan Hicks shirts, rest in
Mhm.
peace his soul. But you know, it was always something meaningful underneath the pads. Good thing you said that because I totally
Yeah,
blanked out.
because
That's how
I
long it's
mean,
been.
Devin White, I think, still wears his LSU pads.
It's crazy.
Tom Brady for a long time only wore. I'm not sure if this was true, but I've heard it from like seen it some in some places. Like he would want to wear his college pads too. Probably later on, he probably couldn't because of the protocols and everything. But yeah, I was just wondering because I know like Devin White. I think he still does, at least for the first few years of his career. He only wore his LSU pads.
No, he still does. You'll see him on. I think he's with the Eagles. I think he's still, or whatever team he's with, or not with him. He still wears them.
Okay.
It's funny.
I know he wore them in Tampa. Um, but also since your podcast is like a sports podcast and stuff, so I kind of want to get some takes for you.
Yeah,
So the draft's gonna be in Green Bay. Are you planning on going or trying to attempt to go?
100%. I'm gonna try to go ahead and it might already be booked out hotel wise and things like that, but I'm definitely gonna probably head up north. I have a cabin in between Rhinelander and Tomahawk, so maybe go ahead and pitch out there and go. But I'm definitely gonna plan on being in that vicinity or
Okay.
keeping a good eye on it for that time.
Yeah.
But it's cool that we have it in Green Bay, man. It's I
Mhm.
think it's been the first time having that in a really long time.
Yeah, I know. I'm making it a point to at least try to go for trying day one, but one of the later rounds, just
Mm-hmm.
because I know it's gonna be like a once in a lifetime
Right.
situation. Like, how many times are you gonna be able to be? And the ticket, and it's free, too, because I made sure. But I was like, I don't know how many times like I'm gonna be able to say, oh yeah, I was at the NFL draft and I saw, say the next Tom Brady or something's in this
No,
draft class.
absolutely.
Being able to
Yeah,
be
we're
like,
gonna
oh
see
yeah,
Shador Sanders and all those guys. Travis
of
Hunter.
course,
This would be a great draft to go ahead and see.
who's number one on your draft pick and draft board?
I mean, I would probably say who is probably going to be number one this year. I mean I can't even talk. The Panthers. I mean, I can see them probably getting Travis Hunter, but he's going to go in a good situation because Coach, Deion Sanders is going to make sure he goes to the right situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I would say him. I would say probably Hunter for sure. If not, then like the best O lineman or D lineman or
Okay.
quarterback. Maybe Shador goes. Maybe he doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
or a team trades up in the first round. Those days are where they got so many things that can happen.
Yeah.
To where a team goes ahead and sends whatever for a first round and they go. But um, I could see Travis Hunter probably being the first pick to
I
go overall.
I
I
could
think
see
that's
that
probably going to
too.
be the guy.
I've heard from other people that have asked this, like my buddy Riley.
Hmm.
He said, I can't think of what his name is right now. And I would agree that this guy's probably going to be, if he is able to go into the draft. I'm not sure if he is this year or if it's next year. Boise
What team
State's
is he
running
on?
back.
Oh yeah, I
Boise
know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's another guy. Well, got to look at it from just years on. When's the last time a running backs went first
Fair.
overall in the draft?
Fair.
Think never. Not to be
Yeah.
like that, but I mean the draft realistically, when you see it, a lot of quarterbacks go first, a lot of O linemen, a lot of D linemen, because those are really the main
Hmm.
positions. But then towards, I can see him still going first round though, like towards the end of the first round for sure,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of teams out here that do need to have a running attack. Um, but I think probably either the first round pick, definitely going to be a skill position or a quarterback or O lineman.
Okay.
I don't know
Um,
who, but
I think though I would also have to probably agree, probably Travis Hunter.
yeah, I think. But I mean, at the same time, it's just what teams want, like what teams
Yeah.
need. Like they're not going to go ahead and just be like, okay, we need this person. Even all these guys that are going first round, if you go first round, they're going to be probably playing a lot and they're going to be definitely suiting up.
Yeah.
But you got to make it make sense for the organization as well.
Exactly. Okay. Super. I mean, I guess it's not super early, but what is your kind of like, if you were to guess now from all the records standing in the NFL right now, who is your Super Bowl matchup?
Super Bowl matchup. Talk about this on my show with one of my colleagues, Tony Lippett. I think we're either going to see, and this is just me, and I'm not being biased because I'm from here. I definitely think the Packers are going to get in this year. And for me, it's either going to be, even though they lost, but I think when it comes that time in the AFC, it's either going to be the Chiefs or the Ravens. So
I wouldn't
if I
mind
have to,
a.
if I have to pick one, I wouldn't want the Chiefs, and I really wouldn't want the Ravens
Mhm.
that the Packers play. But at the same time, I think the Ravens are going to come out and they're actually going to get the Chiefs this year. I think, granted, it was a horrible loss against Cleveland this past weekend. I
Yes.
think that, Derrick Henry edition, them running the football, then you got Lamar Jackson doing his thing. And if wide receivers don't drop footballs, you know,
Mhm.
during that time, the defense is playing well, they'll be representing obviously the AFC. But come on now, you're asking
Course.
a guy that's from Wisconsin who's going to win a Super
Ex-
Bowl is the Packers.
exact.
That's
Of
never
course. Of
never
course.
change. They'll never
Yeah, I
change.
would say Packers. I've seen stuff like before the season started. There was a lot of Packers Chiefs, Packers Ravens were a lot of the Super Bowl matchups that I saw. And now
Yeah,
seeing how our team's playing and stuff, if Jordan Love can stay healthy, hopefully his injury isn't really bad. I mean, we've got a really
right.
good backup quarterback that no one believed in, which, I mean, from day one when I found out, I was trusting him. I thought Malik Willis was just in a bad quarterback position for where he got drafted. Um, we've got a really good backup quarterback. Do I think that if Jordan Love keeps getting injured, do I think we make it that far with Malik? I don't think so. I could see the Lions making a burst, possibly to the Super Bowl. Would love to see that. I'm a guy that, besides the Bears and Vikings, if if the Packers aren't in it, I'll cheer for the North. So last year, after the Packers got knocked out by the 49ers, um, I was cheering for the Lions, but I could think we might be able to see a Ravens Lions Super Bowl too.
Yeah, no, that was the next team I was going to say as well, but you hit on it. I think the Lions are a serious team as well. I mean, we got to, as a Packer, fan, obviously. I mean, Jordan Love's just he can't throw. He got to stop throwing interceptions. I
Hmm.
mean, he has a groin injury now, which is always going to be there, which was tough to happen. But I mean, you just see the resilience in the Packers team. Whoever's in there is going to make
Hmm.
plays. A little worried about the corner situations, but a win's a win. So
Exactly. I
hopefully
mean,
Love is good, and we just he just has to continue to get healthy, and he needs to just stop trying to force footballs where they're not needed to be. He's like
Yes,
Aaron Rodgers. He's like Brett Favre Jr. Like that's
exactly.
literally what we're seeing with him. But
Hmm.
I can't complain. Wins a win. 6-2, second in the NFC North.
Yeah,
It's a long season. We got a big one against the Lions,
yeah.
and
I can't wait.
we'll see.
But yeah, I mean, big one from my family is because my dad's from Illinois. My sisters are Bears
Okay.
fans,
Ooh.
and they're diehard Bears fans, and we're half siblings. So we go at each other on text whenever they play.
It's awesome.
Like my oldest sister is literally one day 17 years older than me. I was her
Yeah.
17th. I was her 17. I was a birthday gift for her on her 17th birthday. So I always like to say, imagine having a little brother that stole the spotlight during what was
Yeah.
supposed to be your time. You got
That's
the 4th of
funny.
July, then it's my sister's, which is
Right.
on the 5th, and then mine's on the 6th.
Yeah.
So got a really good week that you know she had for a good 17 years. But then I'm like the favorite grandchild. I'll argue with my cousin and my sisters that I'm the favorite grandchild,
Right.
and they'll argue and be like, "Why?" I'm like, "Well, one, I'm the only grandson, so, and I'm the baby grandchild, so I've got like two two big things right there."
Right. No, absolutely. That's awesome.
But yeah, or they'll they'll sometimes go, "Oh yeah, well you were actually an accident." I'm just like, "Well, I'm still the baby." So we'll go at each other. We'll go at personal stuff with each other.
That's awesome.
Last year, my oldest sister's boyfriend bet me the Packers, the final game of the regular season, the Packers or Bears. He was super confident that the Bears were gonna win. He said if the Bears win, deal was if the Bears won, I let him shave my head off because I've got
Oh,
naturally curly
jeez.
hair, so I
Yeah.
like my hair. Um, so and if the Bears lost, he had to shave everything but his mustache. So he didn't do it this year. I gotta wait and ask him about it when I see him on Christmas about it. But
That's
yeah,
funny.
I gave him an out and I said he just had for a week and he just had the spray hair dye of green and gold in
There you
his
go.
hair. But he didn't want that. But yeah, seen a lot of good football recently. Drake May,
Yeah.
I saw was already injured, got injured again, or got injured or something.
Yeah. No, that's not good.
No. What are some other big moves that have happened besides Devontae to the Jets, which is huge for the Jets, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably the only thing as of right now. We just got to wait and see,
Hmm.
and just move on from there because it's still a long season. Even though it's halfway, you never know what can happen these next 9 or 8 games before the
Yeah.
playoffs start.
I mean, I guess this isn't like a huge move, but I mean, last week Robert Saleh was seen at the Packers training camp.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, to bring
So,
more good minds into the organization, for him to just be there. We don't
yeah.
know why, but LaFleur and him are buds. I mean, he was, I think, best man in his wedding, so that's
Yeah.
always good to see. Just good guys that know football, even though the situation of what the Jets did
Mhm.
was probably the most dumbest move ever, if you want my honest opinion, for that
Oh yeah.
franchise, and they're going to suffer from it tremendously.
Do you
And
think it was
we're already seeing it.
Yeah. Do you think him going to coming to the Packers, do you think that was kind of like a screw you to the Jets or to even Aaron Rodgers in a sense? Because I have a feeling like Aaron Rodgers had a thing of like he didn't like that he didn't want to bring Vontae over.
I think realistically, with
Or
that
was it
whole New
just more of
York
a business?
situation, I think it's just more of a business situation. I mean, for him, if he's going to be in rooms like that, you never know what can happen. I think
Mhm.
really, realistically, we can sit here and blame one guy, Aaron Rodgers. He's been a villain his whole life, in the NFL, and he's the one
Yeah,
that's done this and this. He has no control over who's going to be in that building.
fair, fair. I
Like the
mean,
fact that if you think that one person can go ahead, maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but I just don't like that's just not a move that, yeah, okay, they might be heated, but that's just like anybody with between a person or a
yeah,
coach and a player. Um, but there was no need for him to leave New York because they
no,
need him bad, and it's just not it. But I mean, for the Packers situation, I mean, we're good. I think Hoffley's going to be our guy for a very long time. So I guess a defensive coordinator or head coach, a head coach position. Uh, but it's also good to bring him on. You never know. If you look at his track
exactly.
record, been a linebackers coach, been a D line coach, been a secondaries coach. So we might bring him on maybe for that and just to help again to go ahead and
Uh,
get us over the hump when it comes playoff time. So I'm all
yeah,
for it. I have
I
no
think that would give us a
problem
very
with it.
good that would give us a very good chance at the Super Bowl if we can get Saleh onto the staff as some sort of coach. Even if it is
Yeah,
like
it'd be good.
secondary or even having him coaching up the safeties, having him and Xavier
Yeah,
McKinney on the same wavelength, I think that would be a very dangerous, and the league would have to watch out for.
absolutely.
I mean, biggest move one of the biggest moves also this week, DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs.
It's a big move.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere. I would say. I mean, I didn't really think anything of DeAndre. I forgot. To be honest, I forgot that he was even in the league. I don't
Yeah,
even
no,
remember.
it's a yeah. He was Tennessee Titans, but they're kind of really spiraling downhill right now.
Hmm.
Good move. Just gives another weapon for Mahomes, and we all know what the Chiefs can do.
Exactly. Exactly. If the Chiefs make it to the Super Bowl, could we see them being the only other second team to get a three-peat?
I mean, you can't put anything past the Chiefs. We did last
Exactly.
year. We did last year, and they went in and won a Super Bowl.
Hmm.
So I don't put anything against even though I talked about Lamar and all that good stuff, but it's the Chiefs. They can beat them as well. They can go ahead and be look. They have the best record right now, and Patrick Mahomes is playing like Jordan Love,
Yeah.
like more interceptions than he's ever had in his career, and they're still winning games.
Exactly. I would have to agree with that. Yeah. I don't know.
So
I'm just trying to think of other questions to come up with. What would be your playoff picture for, like, say, the NFC?
I mean, realistically, uh, it's gonna be tough to kind of
Hmm.
say right now. I would probably have to get to me probably the next time we talk on that. But if I were to go ahead and see, I mean, right now, all these teams that are 6-1, 6-2, either 5-3 or 5-2 or 4-4. Um, whichever team that is leading probably their division or top two, definitely be in. So you look at it, right now, if we were to see Lions would probably be number one.
Hmm.
I'm just looking basically right now in NFL. Commanders would be so basically they got right now. Lions 1, Commanders 2, Falcons 3. They got the Cardinals at 4, Packers 5, Vikings 6, and then the Eagles at 7. So I said this earlier too within the podcast I got going on. There's going to be probably three teams that come out of the NFC North that'll probably be in this playoff picture.
Yeah.
I don't know who. Two for sure we know. I know the Lions and the Packers will be. I
Yeah.
want to say the Vikings, but we don't know. They just lost their best left tackle. How's that going to switch out? So
Yeah.
that's a whole nother segment to talk about. So
Yeah. I would definitely agree. Like, and it's still a lot of football. A team could just emerge out of nowhere. I mean,
absolutely,
I really didn't think anything of the Commanders going into this season, and then finding out that they won by a Hail Mary against who was it? I can't remember the team.
Bears.
The Bear, yeah, against the Bears, winning by a Hail Mary kind of caught my eye. I'm like, okay, got to keep an eye on this Commanders team. Jaden Daniels is doing amazing things
Yeah, he's
for this
doing
team.
well. He
Yeah.
is doing well.
Um, can't really think of anything else for questions. Besides, I just want to say thank you for doing this interview, and
No,
yeah,
absolutely. No, I appreciate you, man. Hopefully this, we had recorded and it didn't save, but hopefully this gets you an AA plus, and whoever said you
Yeah,
couldn't do it, they're gonna see it. So
exactly. Yes. Thank you.
absolutely.